The middle video, very much like Jan. Oh, Jan. Anyways, Yo Coot here, coming back at you with another exciting video. If you caught that reference, comment in the comment section down there below. So with that being said, let's talk about Braulio today. I could finally afford a bottle of this. 1 liter, 21% alcohol by volume, 2025 prices. Usually in the ballpark of like $58 to $60, at least here in Southern California. Shop around. Maybe you might find it in a liquor store for less expensive, or a big box chain store might be having a sale or some coupon or discount or whatever. But anyways, I could finally afford it, so that's why I bought it. But here's what you're getting in there. You're getting 15 months of being aged in oak barrels. I believe that's what that loosely translates into. And if you're not sure, if you look, see the Alpine Alps, the Swiss Alps up there, ski, thing going on. There's some mountainous herbs. And if you flip over the bottle, it tells you exactly what's happening. So there you go. Amaro dello Stelvio. I believe Stelvio is the actual region up there in northern Italy where this is produced. And then you can kind of take your screenshots, do what you got to do here. But basically, it's imported by Campari, which is really nice. So Campari, the same company that makes the bright, red stuff or the neon red stuff. So it's kind of cool. The only thing I don't like, note to the company, is colored with caramel. I want to say that they boiled some sugar down and, made it like a caramel color. I just want to believe that that's the truth, and that it's not some artificial like caramel coloring or whatever. But with that being said, let's talk about it. So on the nose, right? This is I've been sipping it and just kind of discovering new things about it. And the more the ice melts and it gets a little watered down, the little subtle nuances I start to pick up, the different flavors. But on the nose, let me just give it a quick re-sniff. Yeah, so on the nose, it's kind of like Cynar predominant, right? Cynar is artichoke and cola, like Kinoto. It kind of has that kind of like majority, I would say. Right behind it, very tight, close second, would be the pine needle, camphor, eucalyptus, right? Like maybe 40% Cynar, 30% maybe Fernet, Branca, however it's pronounced. I like to use Fernet because I'm sophisticated like that, only on Tuesdays. But anyways, and then I would say right behind that, maybe there's 20% of this underlying sassafras, right? This unsweetened root beer rootness. So you've got cola, pine, and root, right? And then behind that, I would say 5 or 10% something. There's this rosemary, sage, thyme, alpine herb action going on, like walking through the Swiss Alps basically on a spring day when everything's in bloom and that kind of vibe. That's kind of what it smells like. So then taste wise, let me go ahead and give myself another little quick refresher taster. Yeah, it's definitely, so let's talk about sweet to bitter. It's definitely sweet. I would say maybe 60% sweet, 40% bitter. So there's definitely some sugar action going on here, which might be the caramel over there. There might be some honey in here that was kind of added in, like stone fruit kind of sweetness, like that kind of vibe. And then in terms of that flavor profile, again, it's kind of like Cynar and Fernet Branca had a baby. That's basically what it tastes like, with a little bit of like unsweetened root beer thrown in. So very, very complex. Definitely more complex than straight Cynar would be, and definitely more complex than straight Fernet Branca would be. Like on their own, this is more complex than either one of those individually. But I would say, again, you're getting that forward push of Cynar type flavors. Cola, artichoke, maybe some rhubarb in there. Then right behind it, like the next tier down, but very close, would be that pine needle, right? Alpine tree, pine tree kind of vibe. You're getting some eucalyptus in there, and then you're getting some camphor in there, but not as pungent, right? Not as pungent, strong, not as kick in the face as like Fernet Branca is. And then behind that, another close, like another very close behind that, is that underlying root note, like unsweetened sassafras, unsweetened root beer, rooty, like is basically the best way I would describe it. And then behind that, maybe in a lower percentage, maybe like If the Cynar, artichoke cola or the artichoke cola, the nut was going, I would say 40% of that, maybe 30% of the pine, maybe 20% of like the root. And then I would say the last 10%, right? Is that 100%? Yeah. The last 10% would be rosemary, thyme, sage, basically those Alpine herbs. There's no anise in here that I can detect. If there is, like fennel or anise, there's none in here that I can detect. If there is, oh wow, it would be so subtle. It would be like less than 1% of the overall flavor profile. There's, at least not that I'm picking up, there's no real mint to speak of in here. Again, it might be masked by the other flavors, but if there is mint in here, it wouldn't surprise me if there is, but it's not like a mint forward beverage. It's not like creme de menta or anything, but it's very possible. It is very possible. Some of those Alpine type herbs, are definitely taking over more than I would say if there is any fennel in here or anise or any of that kind of vibe. So anyways, with that being said, I'm a fan. I would say this is definitely more complex than Cynar and Fernet Branca. It's as if those two had a baby. The baby grew up, went to college, and then became like a sophomore. That's how I would describe this. I wouldn't call this my daily beverage, like daily drinker. I would call this more of like, maybe once in a blue moon, like not even that, maybe like once a month, just kind of treat yourself to something nice, maybe after like a really, really rough day or a very happy occasion, the other end of the spectrum. I would say maybe if you're going to do like a schnazzy dinner and you're going to entertain some guests, or you're going to a party where maybe, the crowd is a little more sophisticated, I would say this would be something like I would give to the host and then, encourage them to share it with the group, however many people there are or whatever. And I would kind of do it like this. I would either do it on the rocks, or, customary on this channel, I might put some soda water in there or mineral water or whatever, and just kind of take just a hint of that alcohol bite off. Maybe 1 ounce of the Braulio with like, I don't know, maybe a quarter of an ounce, just a splash, like a bar spoon or two full of mineral water. Just kind of take the alcohol bite off. I think more of the flavors are going to come out, more of the complexity of what you're tasting. There's some products that are out there. It's not Braulio, but there are some products that are out there that to me are just very like alcohol forward, a little too strong for my taste buds. This, on the other hand, is like the opposite of that. This, on the other hand, is something that I could sip over ice. I would definitely do it over ice. I wouldn't do this neat. I would just do it over ice. That's me personally. But I think the more the ice melts, the more you kind of taste different things. The flavor profile changes, the sugars get diluted, right? So maybe that caramel, right? That caramel that's back there might get a little watered down, so you're getting less sweet and you're getting a little bit more of the bitter action going on. But yeah, I like this. Like I said, I would maybe like once a month, maybe twice a month, something like that, special occasion, that kind of vibe. Or if you just want something different, maybe you had Cynar for a while, maybe you had Fernet Branca for a while, you want to mix of the two, and you want something a little more complex, this would be the way to go. Anyways, with that being said, of course, drink responsibly, shop locally in your town, in your part of the country or the world or whatever for the best prices. Like I said, here in Southern California, this is around $58 to $60 for the 1 liter bottle, and you're getting 21% alcohol by volume. With that being said, I'm the Old Coot. I'll catch you all in the next exciting video.